This is the story of the men who lost their lives during the sinking of HMS Birkenhead, including Lieutenant Audley Henry Booth of Holton Holgate. The Birkenhead, one of the first iron vessels in service, left Portsmouth in January 1852 under the command of Captain Robert Salmond. It was en route to take troops to fight in the 8th Cape Frontier War in South Africa. She travelled to Southern Ireland before heading for the Cape. She was carrying 480 officers and men as reinforcements for British troops engaged in the Frontier War. 26 women and children were also on board the vessel. In the late afternoon of the 25th of February, the Birkenhead steamed out of Simon's Bay near Cape Town. Captain Salmond was given orders to make all possible speed to reach his destination of Algoa Bay in Port Elizabeth, a journey of some 550 miles. He decided to hug the South African coastline as closely as possible in order to achieve this. This course kept the boat continually within approximately 3 miles of the coastline. Good weather conditions and a calm sea allowed the Birkenhead to maintain a speed of around 8.5 knots. It was the early hours of the next day when the ship struck rocks off Danger Point, only some 50 miles into their journey, with such force that it sliced into the hull just behind the foremast and ripped open the compartment between the engine room and the bow. Many soldiers drowned in their hammocks below decks. All the surviving officers and men went up on deck. Being the senior military officer on board, Lieutenant Colonel Seaton of the 74th Foot took charge of all military personnel and immediately summoned his officers around him and stressed the importance of maintaining order and discipline. Distress rockets were fired, but there was no help at hand. At this stage, the ship's captain, Captain Salmond, made a grave mistake in ordering the Birkenhead to be put astern, an action which caused the hull to rip open further. About 60 men were sent to the pumps, including Lieutenant Audley Booth, and the other men were commanded to stand drawn up in line and await orders. Poor maintenance and paint on the winches resulted in only a few of the ship's lifeboats being able to be launched, and the troops helped the women and children into them in a calm manner. This left only 3 boats available for the soldiers and crew. They were then rowed a safe distance away from the wreck. As the Birkenhead broke up, the ship's captain shouted that all those who can swim jump overboard and make for the boats. But Colonel Seaton knew that if they were to rush the lifeboats, it might mean that the boats could be swamped, and this would further endanger the lives of the women and children already aboard the boats. He drew his sword and ordered his men to stand fast. The soldiers did not move, even as the ship split in two and the mainmast crashed onto the deck. The Birkenhead went down rapidly, only 25 minutes after she had struck the rocks. There were only 193 survivors out of 638 passengers and crew, but all the women and children were saved. The sinking of the Birkenhead and the bravery of the soldiers on board were a wonderful example of supreme discipline, courage, and self-sacrifice. This disaster gave rise to the Birkenhead drill, or as we now know it, women and children first. Lieutenant Audley Henry Booth of Her Majesty's 73rd Regiment, son of Augustus and Mary Audley Booth of Holton Holgate, who perished with 50 men at his post on the lower deck of HMS Birkenhead off Danger Point, South Africa, in February 1852, aged 22 years. A story of discipline, heroism, devotion to duty, and service.